tō mātai atua matua I te matapu o tapu tia tanuhia o tō unga tō hoiho anō kia tai ake ai ia ko tai anō kia mea atuai ia te whenua tani ia tō te matapu o mea I mātai ki te ao nei I o te iao hareia ako mirua ke ia mātai o mātai mi oa me mātai hoki ia mātai me i o ahia aka hore hoki mātai kia kai o kia whakawai e rangi whakaurau ia mātai ia te kino mea anō hōna ia hoki te ho ana me te manatapu me ko te tai ke tonu atu mene ka piti hona ka tātai hono ko rātau rā tērā rātau te mate kia rātau anō I roto I ngā tū āhuatanga kia mātai I roto koutou kawehe noa tūnei a koutou ka patu nei a koutou ka puhia ake nei koutou te mate haere ngā mate o ngā wiki wapahire kau ake nei koutou anō I ngā maramane I whai haere nei I te he, I te taha ki te he I te taha ki te ioa I te taha ki te harahara o roto ia rātai ko te karauna, rātau ko te hapu iwi o awa, ko te uri, whānau uri o tūhoe, te uri whānau uri o kahunu anō, rātau anō ko te karauna, puta atu kia rangi tāne o te tārewa hapu, whānau uri, hoatu rā koutou, hoatu haere, ki te wāhi whakatau I rati atu ki a koutou. Tērā wāhira, katai atu nā koutou I a kona, nā, kakore koutou e tae tonu te hoki mai, e no reira haere whakaoti atu. Aka piti hono ka tātai hono ko tātou māno tēnā tēnei tātou anō koau ko te kānohi ora kia tātou mātou anō koau kai te mihi atu tēnā rā tātou nau mai haere mauri ora kahuri kia ora te ariki matua kā ea anō ko ua hoki ke ake mai anō ai ia hai kia whakahoki ake mai I ngā kōrero I roto I te tā I ngā kōrero I te ngahuru mārua o te mōu so just back on again, redoing that kōrero of the as we've detailed in some of our posts from our page, from our ariki page, from the Tai Ōpuru and the Ōwere page. This particular page we've said we would redo the live from the 12th of May 2025 that was rudely deleted by Facebook, no doubt by some of the groups out there that can't handle the facts and the truth of the situation, revolved around exactly what is happening in the Hapu development space, Hapu iwi development and community. a lot of those acts that some of these groups are committed to enacting upon or omitting. We guess that some of these acts, some of the kōrero on those acts, they want omitted, which is why they've started to delete our saved videos even. I mean, they've informed us over the last couple of months that we need to save down our videos, our lives, in order to keep them, well, to retain them and retain their kōrero. Luckily we transcript all of our kōrero. Now we saved ours down, but you know what? They still deleted them. So yeah, we are a little upset with that. Because we know some of the legal and some of the political sort of wranglings that can go on in the background there, and especially in a space like ours, the Hapu iwi space, where the corrupted or the crown /crown and those that hold on to the crown /crown for their dear lives, the awa, the tūhoe, ngā puhi, also the kahunu and rangitane, those groups that are portrayed by us as, well, quite honestly, the fact of the matter is that they are not anywhere near the awa or the tūhoe or the ngā puhi o kahunu o rangitane of old. Okay, so that's why we indicate that with the and in particular the crown, the /crown. We're talking about the crown, the henchmen that were those from within the group calling themselves the crown in September of 1840, that took over the reinterpreted and the defrauded version of Te Tiriti of 1840. We also gather that some of the other groups working against us that could be, in actual fact, seeing that a lot of our information is deleted, are some of those political groups revolved around the coalition of the time, the coalition government, those that were pushing forward the Treaty Principles Bill, and are currently pushing the RSB, or the Regulatory Standards Bill. One that we have just submitted against and opposed. Also one of the reasons that I've jumped on again today. Okay, and though we want to retain a lot of the kōrero on live, this one will actually save down on a different device and in a different platform. But what we were not told by Facebook was that you could not save them down into your actual account. So we saved ours down into our account, and they still become deleted. Now, because they didn't actually say that, they said just save them down, it sort of shows that someone's trying to get rid of kōrero. And that sort of thing, we're not happy about that sort of thing. That sort of thing where various groups try to hide kōrero that we bring forward, because we know, we already know. We in Tūtahu Trust Tahu Investments Limited, we of Te Runanga o Tahu and Tahu Hapu Iwi Incorporated, we already know. A lot of our kōrero is kōrero that brings to bear and brings to the fore and brings to light a lot of the details that, if we had never spoken about those, or we had never uttered any words about those particular details, then no one would know. See, and we see that as the only reason that, in the main, people would talk to Facebook and try to get rid of the information that we post on Facebook. Information that we post on Facebook as private and confidential as some groups might like to keep it. We don't think it's worthy of that. We don't think it's information that's worthy of that. Every bit of information we give out because the public needs to know. Not only that, the world needs to know about exactly what's going on here. So when we talk about political parties, we're talking about New Zealand First, we're talking about the ACT Party and David Seymour, we're also talking about Luxon and their current coalition partnership that they've got going in the Mutu today. If they're all trying to get rid of the information that we produce online here, then today is the beginning of the end of them being able to do that. Luckily, we transcript all of our kōrero, so we've still basically got it. But today we thought we would start reposting that kōrero. And this is our kōrero from the 12th of May that got deleted. And we've started reposting that kōrero for people, because by rights, and we've said to Facebook, by rights, our people should be allowed to access any part of our kōrero whenever they'd want to. You really don't have a right to delete any of our kōrero that we put on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is like a whare tūpuna, and it's also like a marae. You really got no right to erase its kōrero. Its kōrero is there, and it's there forever. And it's there for all our people to make use of whenever, however, and in whatever way they see fit. Okay? And so we've told Facebook off about these things, but we thought just to make it easier, and so we don't go into any deep squabble or big debates or arguments or anything like that with Facebook or with any of these other groups, that we just repost our kōrero, keep it live, keep it there for our people, and reproduce it basically, and save it down on a different device, and so on. Okay, so today we on the 12th of May, we first of all we actually we farewelled those who had been taken, as I was talking about there in the poroporo that I was doing, that some of those who had been amongst those pushing the corrupted side, the corrupted space, pardon, the space of Hapu iwi development currently, where we're concerned, and where kahunu rangitane are concerned, and where tūhoe kahunu rangitane and the Crown / Crown, pretty closely supported by awa, the old ignorant awa. We hear that they actually claim us now. That's a false claim. That's a false claim, and it's an overclaim by awa to claim us and to claim te awa. They are incorrect. They know it. Awa comes from Moriori, and Moriori are the 5th Hapu iwi line of the country. They are not the first. The first is Moai Hapu iwi. Then there's Te Awa Hapu iwi, which is us. And we also come from Te Awa Hapu iwi. We are the Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi. And from us comes the next one, which is Māmoe Hapu iwi whānauri. And then from them comes, and indeed us through Te Awa, comes Moriori. Moriori are the last line of Te Awa. If the awa are claiming te awa direct, they are lying about that, and they are over-claiming about that. And yeah, I just thought I'd make mention of that today. I didn't on the 12th of May, but I will today. I'll make mention of the awa over-claims and false claims, because the awa and tūhoe, the awa and tūhoe are far too close to the Crown/Crown. They're two of the groups that push the Crown/Crown narrative far too far in the motu, and therefore they mislead a lot of the junior tribes in the country. Yeah, a lot of our junior tribes in the country, in the nation, are very, very misled, very, very misinformed, and have almost fallen by the wayside. Almost. As much as they keep getting settlements through the Crown/Crown, you know, big deal. Big deal. We don't find that such a big deal. And as much as they tend to get a settlement in their regions, you know, nothing changes. Nothing changes. The Crown/Crown, through its governing bodies, through its government, still reserves the right to, through their Westminster parliamentary system, to be able to take control of your lands, take control of your people, and do whatever they like with them. So these juniors are being hoodwinked. That's one of the ways in which that is done, and they have always been hoodwinked. And so awa is probably one of the most hoodwinked, though being a hapu iwi, and tūhoe as well. Close behind them is groups like Kahunu, Rangitāne, Ngāpuhi, Tahupōtiki, all those sorts of groups. Now, very, very well though it might be that they got to you know, achieve settlement and got 1 or 3%, you know, of their worth in that settlement. That's only a very small part of what they're worth. The other thing is, most of those groups are not even iwi, or in fact they're not even the most advanced or extensive of the hapu, or hapu groupings, hapu, or officially birthright, birth line hapu of the motu. Okay, Rangitāne are one, but Rangitāne, Uretare wa hapu, yes, but whānauri, so they're still composite, they're still a sub-tribal group of a greater group or groupings. Okay, so they're not the large natural grouping that the Crown, that the Crown/Crown refers to. Okay, Kahunu are not either. They're uri whānauri. They don't have a birth line, hapu line either. Okay, and we all know what that is. We learnt about that last week in our kōrero last week. However, this one is to reflect the information in the kōrero from the 12th. I just wanted to mention, though, that the awa and their claims over te awa and over Tahumakakanuimatua, they're best to reverse those claims. They're best to reverse those claims. Well, they're gonna get into big trouble. Awa. They're gonna get into big trouble. Though we do have connections up there, we do have lands up there in Whakatane, around the awa areas, and we do have connections with awa. We do not originally come from awa. That's impossible, because awa is in fact the 6th line, hapu iwi. Awa comes from Moriori, who are the 5th line, hapu iwi, the last line of te awa. And if there's any te awa line that the awa hapu iwi has, it is that line, the line through Moriori, through Te Tini o Toi, who comes Tutura from Moriori. Okay, So it's Moriori, Te Tini o Toi, Awa, Tūhoe. Fifth line. See? You when you have and I explained that last week, when you have a birth line, Hapu birth line, that is made up of not just an TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai, but three of them. So it's a dynasty. It's a paramount dynasty. Okay, three of them. Let me explain an TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai. It's always male line. It's always the Maori, the Mōkotamarua line, or the firstborn, the line of the firstborn. Each one of those lines are each of those. TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai, Ariki line, and TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai, and there's three all in the line. So one is the grandfather, one is the father, and one is his son. See? And it's his son. When you have a birth line, Hapu birth line, that grants right, because it comes through the son's line, the birth of the Hapu. Okay? From those three lines. That's your TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai tahipu mā takitahi. Okay? Tahipu mā takitahi. And that's what you call the paramount dynasty, through which is born the birth line of the Hapu, which comes from the third line. Okay, of course you have Māori Kura, you have Uwere, Te that marry those particular lines. They marry into those particular lines, and it's the descendants that come from there that produce the birth line. Okay? 5 to 7 to 8 plus of those, produces your Hapu iwi. However, it's your Hapu iwi whānau uri from 5 to 7. As soon as you get to 8 plus, you are Hapu iwi. Simple, eh? Simple. Yeah. And so, but what we have is Awa trying to claim. We've seen it. We've seen their claim to one line. There are about, oh gosh, there's possibly even 1,500 lines between Awa and the top of Te Awa, which we are from. Now, there's probably about 1,500 lines in between there. Now, if Awa are saying that they are from that direct line, there's got to be a number of tribes in between there and them. And there is. There's all of those Hapu iwi. There's Te Awa Hapu iwi. There's Tahumakakanuimatua, Tutura Hapu iwi. There's Māmoe Hapu iwi whānauri. And there's Moriori Hapu iwi. Okay, so there's 4 iwi in between that line. So there's no way that Awa could be most direct of the Te Awa line. Okay, and they could not be most senior at all. No way. Awa is definitely junior. They come from Te Tini o Toi, whose whakapapa is only Moriori, most direct Moriori. Okay, and Moriori, as I've said in the whakapapa line, Moai Hapu first, Te Awa, Moai Hapu iwi first, Te Awa Hapu iwi next, Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi next, and we're both. We're the most senior of Te Awa remaining, so we hold Te Awa as well. I hold the Tai Opuru Ariki Mataura and Te Awa as well. Okay, no sign of any Awa in that line. No sign. Okay? Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi comes next. Māmoe Hapu iwi whānauri comes from us. That's the next iwi. And then after them comes Moriori Hapu iwi, the last line of Te Awa. Okay, so that's 5. From them comes Te Tini o Toi, from whom comes Awa. Okay, so there's no way in the world that Awa could be Te Awa, or that they could be the next in line for the Te Awa line. I doubt that. That's a serious overclaim, and they're lying to the Crown / Crown, if that's what they're saying to the Crown, that their claim is in the Mutu, because it's a false claim. That's a false claim. They'll need to forget about that or get into big trouble, not just with the most senior, but with us as well. Okay, now the other thing is that whilst there is such a false claim going on, when we look at the tūhoe who make a lot of the fuss about them being uri whānauri, I mean, yeah, you just got to look at tūhoe's line is 5th line. He's 5th line in his line within Awa. He's a 5th line descent, so that's definitely no ureta rewa ariki. Okay? No ureta rewa ariki tahipu mā takitai. Okay, he's no paramount dynasty in his line. He's no mō kotamarua in his line either. Okay? He's 5th line. Ngā puhi couldn't be either. Puhi moana ariki or puhi kai ariki, whichever you fancy, is a couple of lines down from there. I think 7th line. 7th line in descent. So that again is not mō kotamarua, although there might be mō kotamarua in their lines, their actual lines within their lines of descent, though one's a 5th and one's a 7th. So they're both uri whānauri. Neither of them have actual ureta rewa ariki tahipu mā takitahi descended from their lines. So they have no hapu birth lines. Okay, so, and we've studied all of those lines. Now, these are the groups that have made a big fuss about kahungunu rangitane, some of the most junior of our lines of descent, being the big great iwi that they are made out to be in all these Pākehā writings. I just want to point that out, Pākehā writings. A lot of the Pākehā writers over the last maybe it's been around about 100 years, from about 1904, around about that time, all the way through. All of the Pākehā writers and researchers you can think of between that time, including Best, you name it. All of those that wrote about Wairarapa, they wrote about Here Taunga Wairua, they were all misled, all misinformed by a narrative of the Crown / Crown that misled the whole world. They misled the whole world into thinking that they had just transacted sovereignty in this country in 1840, from 1840, and that they had acquired it lawfully. That's what they told their queen, and that's what they told the rest of the world. And whenever we rebelled against the fraudulent regime that was carrying out an enforcement of a reinterpreted Te Tiriti of 1840 in this country, since September 1840, we were seen as the rebellion of the country. We weren't seen as people standing up to defend our rights as the sovereign mana wenua of the country. We weren't being seen as that at all. Okay, so those are the things that were happening, and hopefully those groups who are trying to wipe out all this sort of kōrero. I don't need to say much about the Treaty Principles Bill anymore, because all that got thrown out. Definitely, we had to work hard for it. We had to work hard for it, and You know, the silly thing, I just want to say, the silly thing about the Treaty Principles Bill is that that even though you know, people pointed out that it should be just thrown in the bin or thrown out right outside of Parliament, in fact, without even being allowed before the subcommittee, overlooking all of the kōrero and all of the submissions. What it seems is that Mr. Seymour and his party, the ACT Party, you know, a minor party making a big song and dance just because they've become a part of a government. They think they can overstep the mark and actually rule over everybody and make legislation over everybody without our consent. Yeah, they got another thing coming. But the fact of the matter is they knew that this Treaty Principles Bill would in fact get thrown out. So they concocted that whole situation, the whole, just like how they've stirred up division to get their votes. A lot of their votes you'll find are the Pākehā vote. Why? Because they've stirred them up in the mutu. I put that into our submission against the RSB last night, where I in fact wanted to just be clear, be brief, be very concise about exactly what we wanted to say about the RSB, because it's just such, it's even more disgusting than the Treaty Principles Bill. And I'll tell you what, this Seymour is, you know, he's a dictator in the making, and he wants to be that, and he wants all the power for himself because he thinks himself of the knowledge and ability and of the divine right to make sure to everyone in the world that he knows exactly what's right for the native, indigenous, super tribal people of the country, our Hapu nation, and he knows exactly what laws we need to be able to ensure that we survive into the future. I'll tell you what, none of us are going to survive under any sort of legislative power of Mr. Seymour. He's just a dreamer, and he is imagining things just like the Crown/Crown did from 1840. They were imagining themselves superior and therefore of the power to make a difference right across the world and even across New Zealand. You know what they did? They destroyed New Zealand, and they know it. They destroyed our people, and they know it. They fraudulently took hold of our people and our mutu, and they destroyed the whole lot, and they know it. Hence the various how can we put it, some of those new waves of operation of our governments and the Crown/Crown. You know, they moved forward to, like for instance, set up the claims and settlements in the 1970s. They set up the ability for tribes, for Hapu iwi, of which there are only 7 in the country. There are only 7. We've done our research, we've done our homework, and we know who all the Hapu iwi are. So Kahungunu, Ngāpuhi, Tahupōtiki, forget it. Rangitane, forget it. You're not Hapu iwi, and it's too plain to see. You know, you have no Hapu iwi birth line, and so therefore you need to give up that sort of Crown/Crown narrative that you keep pushing across the mutu as well. Okay, so this Seymour, he's a bit of a dreamer, just like the Crown/Crown, and you know, they failed to do any good in this country. In fact, they can be blamed for all of the problems in this country. Albeit that the Crown/Crown has all these reasons for pulling down certain groups in the country, for being the problems in this country, etc., etc., etc. They created everything that became problematic in the country, was the Crown/Crown. Hence we can go into claims processes and systems, and we can claim claims, and we can claim grievances against the Crown, and we can actually move into settlements mode and negotiate settlement of those particular claims. Okay, but you only get 1%. See, you only get 1%, 1 to 3% in all of that. Okay, so where am I coming to with all of this kōrero? All this kōrero, I'm coming to our kōrero on the 12th of May. Because on the 12th of May, this situation for our people had become a dire, very, very dire situation where 29 people had to be jailed, and 5 people as well added to that had to be shot and killed by security. Now, why is that? Because in our situation as a hapu iwi, we are locked into the same vacuum that is created by the Crown/Crown, and that is created by these other tribes who, they love that corrupt world that is created by the Crown/Crown, and they like the money that comes out of there, precipitates money. And we're not worried about any of that. We're not even interested in any of that. We're interested in justice first. There's a lot more important things in this space than just the money. Though the money is good and it's important, there's a lot more important things in the space. Okay, and a lot more valuable things in the space, especially when we're talking about the Crown/Crown, who, you know, they go around in this space and act like they own it, and that's not true. We own it. People like us, the most senior of the country, we own it. The Moai Hapu Iwi, the Te Hapu Iwi, which is us, and the Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu Iwi. We own it, basically. Māmoe does too, though, Hapu Iwi, Whanauri, and Moriori does as well, Hapu Iwi, and so does Awa Hapu Iwi and Te Atiawa Nui no Rungaterangi. Okay, because we're the 7 Hapu Iwi of the country, we're the originals. Okay, 1769 when Captain Cook got here, we were the 7 original Hapu Iwi of the country of that time. But the ones with the long time and the most original claim to the country are Moai Hapu Iwi, Te Awa Hapu Iwi, Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu Iwi, Māmoe, well, part of Māmoe Hapu Iwi Whanauri, and Moriori Hapu Iwi. Okay, we're the originals of the country. Okay, most of Māmoe, though, got here in the 1200s. The 1200s, yeah. Okay, and but they're part of the originals anyway. Okay, we're the people with 3,000 plus years of claim in this country. No one else has that. No one else has that. And there could be no other Hapu Iwi of the country, or in other words Hapu, or in other words Iwi of the country. There could be no other. Because the only ones with that makeup, that structure, that form of super tribal grouping from amongst our Hapu nation in the Mutu from circa 1769 AD, when Captain Cook got here, are all those 7. Okay, and when did our Hapu Iwi get here? They got here in circa 1350 AD or thereabouts. Okay, it is said the same with Te Atiawa Nui no Rungaterangi. Okay, though there are records of Aotearoa getting here a lot earlier, like around 1000, around about the time of the first kupe who came from us, who came from Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi. Okay, through Māmoe tahumata whaiti kahu kupe 1. Yeah, that's where kupe 1 comes from. Okay, everyone understanding that out there. Now let's keep that in mind, because what we had once the Crown had illegally taken over the country, they established in 1854 their racial parliament. What they and it's still racial today. Okay, it's only institutionally racist, but it's still racial today. Okay, let's make that point very clear, and I made that point in our submission last night. I'll just before I carry on with that part of our kōrero, I will just mention the RSP. Now, one of the major reasons I hopped on today was because in regards our submission on the RSP, I know that people have said that we should be okay, because when I speak on any matters, in fact, that are to do with, or that affect, or that impact the lives of all of the most senior of the country, that is Moai Hapu iwi, Te Awa Hapu iwi, Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi, Māmoe Hapu iwi whānauri, and Moriori Hapu iwi, that affect us, all 439,000 plus. I speak for that entire constituency. Okay, I speak for that entire constituency. I have that capability of, well, that is part of my responsibilities as handed down and discussed with me by the top of Moai. Okay, and so I mentioned that today, that about the RSP, because in terms of the RSP, what we decided is that I would make my submission quick and concise, and encourage all 439,000 also to submit against that bill. Make a submission. I like how Tānia Waikato, the lawyer there, yeah, she's pretty clued up on the bill, and it's massive, a lot of her kōrero, and she points out how best to make a submission against that particular bill, and she has advertised that, I think, on her page as well. She's got some detail there. Tap into the parliamentary website, go into, well, just follow her instructions. And she says, go into the submission page, and once you get there, just write in that, nice and simply, we oppose, or I oppose this bill. The next part, they have a second part, you just say what you want done with it. You say, throw it out immediately, please. Don't take it to committee. That's what I said. I said, do not take this to committee. Do not pass go. Do not pay 200. Just get it out of here. Okay? And so that was our submission, my submission last night on behalf of Tūtahu Trust Tahu Investments Limited. But I wanted it especially known today, that all 439,000 of those hapu iwi, of all of our hapu iwi, just those of Moai hapu surviving today, Te Awa surviving today, right down to the last line of Te Awa, which is Moriori, not Awa. Awa's nowhere in there, but Awa does come through Te Tini o Toi of Moriori of the last line. Okay? And so everyone, get in there, do a submission, say that you oppose, tell them to throw it out and it shouldn't even go to it shouldn't even go to the committee stage, the subcommittee that deliberates over submissions, etc., etc., etc. It shouldn't even go there. So all 439,000 plus, please submit tamariki, mokopuna, te katoa, ngā whānau, ngā uri, whānau ri ngā hapu, ure tā rewa whānau ri katoa. Katoa ngā composites, sub-tribal groupings, hapu iwi, whānauri hapu iwi, katoa no o tata matau. Submit against this bill is the best thing to do. It's the best thing to do. Take it from me. And that's why I thought, instead of last time when I wrote for the Treaty Principles Bill, I represented us. See, this time I was asked to represent us, but I sort of did it differently, and I represented us, but I said I wanted to encourage everyone else to also submit, because the more we submit against this bill, the more powerfully we can actually make a difference where this bill is concerned, because this one's a bit different. You can't actually have it thrown out. You can't actually stop it, because this coalition has already pushed it through. Okay, and I wrote how disgusted I am and ashamed that such a racially discriminatory thing would be done by this particular parliament. It shows the racial, the institutionally racist way of the Westminster system of our parliament in the country, and it also shows that parliament is still racist. Parliament is still racist. They've just pushed, they're just about to enact a bill that takes away our rights to make decisions around terms and conditions, to legislative ideas of this clown, Seymour, and his party of clowns, the ACT Party. They're just the minority in the country. They're just the minor party in the country, and they're trying to make out they're the best thing that happened since sliced bread. And that's not true. That's definitely not true. Sliced bread is definitely better than this lot. Okay? So get in there. Everyone, each and every one of us, if we all submit together, all 439,000, and I think all of the rest of our super tribal native indigenous people out there, if we all get in there too, all of the 300,000 that submitted against the Treaty Principles Bill, if they submit again, we've almost got the whole lot of us in the country in there. But let's all do it. Tangata tiriti, Moana Pacifica, you name it, let's all get in there and stop these idiots from trying to take over our rights and trying to say to us that they know better than we do. That's not true. That's not true. David Seymour knows very little, but he's very misguided, very misled, very underinformed, and very misguided by what would seem to be a crown/crown way of doing things, a crown/crown manner from 1840 onwards. Even today, the crown, we take it as the authoritarian dictatorship that they are, that Mr. Seymour is somewhat taken by them, and so he's immensely influenced and does things similarly to how they would do. We thought that the TPPA had been thrown out years ago, but now here it is again. Part two, ko Tutura, and the same thing that you see around the Treaty Principles Bill. Well, this is part two. When thinking about how the Treaty Principles Bill got thrown out, the coalition government already knew that bill would get thrown out. See? because that's why they formulated this. They devised this RSP, and they devised this one through their agreements, etc., to be enacted through Parliament. This bill gets enacted in Parliament. I think we're going to be a step away from a civil war in this country. A civil war is possible in this country, where our people could get to a point where they'd had enough and start to revolt against government bodies in this country. And I wouldn't blame them if that happens too. We think that we're going down the right path towards that, and it's this David Seymour and his ACT party that are leading us towards that. He thinks he can tell us what to do. David Seymour can go jump and shove it all up his ass. He's not going to get that at all. He won't get that as DPM. He won't get that as an MP for ACT of the ACT party. He won't get that as the leader of the ACT party, and he won't get that as David Seymour in any parliament. Okay, so all of our people out there, 439,000 plus, submit against the RSP, and then we'll all have a brighter day and a brighter future, especially our tamariki and mokopuna. We'll be so much better off because it takes away the rights of the tiriti totally. You know, everything that is concluded on or legislated on with reference to te tiriti and all that, it's our binding document. It's what has forged our nation. We are one group that in particular we are driven by the original intentions of that document of te tiriti, and we know them so well, the original intentions, and we're driven by that. We're particularly driven by that. Now, the RSP, not just the Treaty Principles Bill, but the RSP totally wipes out the whole of that, so that we cannot, in actual fact, bring the original intentions of te tiriti back. See, we were fraudulated out of house and home. We were fraudulated out of our sovereignty, out of our mana whenua, and all of that stuff through te tiriti. The actual original intentions were covered over. See, so in the end, though that's not what te tiriti said, te tiriti did not say that we granted the Queen sovereignty forever. That's not true. That's not true. In actual fact, Kāwanatanga revolved around governance, independent governance, and the ability to govern, of one to govern over their own people. Okay, that includes multi-dimensional governance. That includes multifaceted governance. The form of governance that we already had in this country, that was 3,000 plus years old already in this country. That was what was written into te tiriti, but translators could not depict any of that sort of kōrero until we got our hands on it. We studied te tiriti, and being original speakers of the original reo of the country, which is where te tiriti's reo is a part of that reo of the country. We translated it, and we translated the original intentions of te tiriti back in to existence, like it was in 1840. Now, if you're wondering why I'm discussing all of that all of a sudden, I'm discussing all of that all of a sudden because that's what made 540 chiefs sign te tiriti. See, was the original intentions, not the Queen acquiring our sovereignty. No, that's not why we signed it. Okay, but then via the English text, which said something quite different. The crown, the actual crown. So Hobson and Co. said that we had, in fact, given over sovereignty. That's not true. That's not true. Especially when Kāwanatanga, if you look at the He Whakaputanga 1835, Kāwanatanga also is translated in that document, and it's translated as government or governance. See? You can't change it suddenly in Te Tiriti 5 years later and say, oh, it actually it is intended to mean in here after we've signed it, because the English version didn't come out until the evening of the 6th of February 1840. See, so the first lots of chiefs at Waitangi that signed Te Tiriti had already signed it, and then they brought out the English version. So that's why, that's why I thought we'd get into that and explain to you how the actual fraudulence took place. And then they took it around the mutu and included, all the rest under that. Okay, without actually telling them what happened up at Waitangi. Absolutely fraudulent, eh? No, the crown/crown of today will need to, if they're whispering in this David Seymour's ear every night, please David, work your magic and make us an RSB bill so we can just take total authoritarian dictatorship over these native, indigenous, super tribal people once and for all, and wipe out their ability to make laws and devise terms and conditions around laws, around legislation in this country, then we'll be all much happier within the crown/crown. And it's a pity the crown/crown hasn't got any real money to spend. Otherwise, you'd see a lot more money getting poured into the Hapu iwi development space. Okay, sounds like a lot of these junior groups in the country, like Kahunu, Uri Whanauri, and Rangitane, Uretare Hapu Whanauri. It sounds like they're quite happy with what they're getting, and with the crown narrative, in the country, etc., etc., etc. It sounds like they're quite happy with all of that. Well, we're not. But the other fact of the matter is that in our particular part of the space, we have all the evidence. Our kōrero is in particular proven. We have all of the evidence to prove our claim right across the mutu. So Kahunu Rangitane, where they share areas of lands with us, they're no different. And the Kahunu Rangitane, I'm afraid to say, people in this day, they can't handle that. So we've had a lot of rebellion from these junior groups, and our security has had to deal with some of the threats against our people, namely against myself and my queen. Death threats that continued on, in particular, and that they were looking to carry out, and so in the process got shot. Okay, and our security people made sure of that. Also, amongst the 29 that were jailed, there were around about 6 that were castrated. They were rapists, or people that thought themselves of divine right, I wouldn't even call that sexual. That's like animal. Okay, it's not something that I particularly like. So I enjoy our people who enforce the law amongst Tahumakakanuimatua, and also our security that can enforce that sort of thing as well. Castrate people like that in order to stop them in their tracks. Otherwise they just keep going and raping and raping and raping and raping. One rape is disgusting enough, but these people were just going on and on and on. Okay, in particular, a couple of the perpetrators of all the trouble, all designed to weaken us, weaken the Tahumakakanuimatua Tutura Hapu iwi, and the strength of our claim, the strength of our ability to stand up and defend ourselves, the strength of our ability to make the claims that we do. That was the, they even abused children. They were violently abusive to the children. They raped our women, you name it. And right through all of that, there was threats against the lives of some of the kids, and also threats against in fact, one of the kids, their life nearly got taken. I thought I'd mention that. And also there were threats against my life. I'm the Taiopuru Ariki Mataura of Tahumakakanuimatua Tutura Hapu iwi, and also of Te Awa Hapu iwi. And my queen is the already well te of Tahumakakanuimatua Tutura Hapu iwi, and also of Te Awa Hapu iwi. Okay, so we were threatened. We've done nothing wrong to these people. Everything we've claimed has been tika, or correct, or accurate, and we have all the evidence and proof to assure you that we know exactly what we're talking about. 3,000 plus years of claim in this country, alongside Moai Hapu iwi, alongside, we are Te Awa Hapu iwi, and also Māmoe Hapu iwi whānauri. We hold the top, in fact, through us who hold the Tuakana line, but then there's also our Ariki line, the Te Arawa, who are the most senior, the Ariki of Te Arawa, hold the Ariki line of Māmoe today. Okay, e tatama, and one in particular of the people who died, who were in particular opposition to us, and who could not handle the situation either, and who was threatening our lives. Actually, she may have been looking to take our lives via the occult. So was perhaps at one point there, over the weeks before the 12th of May, she was looking to throw some occult karakia. Now, in her quest to play around with one of the occult karakia, with her boyfriend, who is now dead, he was shot dead in the process of all this trouble that's been caused as a result of the Crown /Crown claims on this country, claims through Kahunurangi Tāne against our claim, which is the Tutura claim, or the true claim, or the original claim, or the customary claim to our land in this country, within which the Crown has no legal jurisdiction, no legal right. Okay, all of our lands we claim, the Crown /Crown has no legal jurisdiction or right within those lands. So we basically run those lands, and we run them how we see fit. Okay, they're under whakatapu, but that's how we roll today, because we have to, because we're dealing with groups that are always going to see themselves fit to oppose our claims, and they've got no rights. especially the ones without evidence, like the Crown/Crown, they got no evidence, and like Kahunu, Rangitane, Awa, full of crap, Awa, full of crap, full of Crown narrative, that's all they're full of. And very, very ignorant. In fact, they are full of arrogant ignorance, Awa. Yeah. Because for a long time they've thrown out the real kōrero, and they've just stuck with the Crown because they thought the Crown was going to be here forever for them. No. I was greatly mistaken about that. I was greatly mistaken about that. The Crown/Crown is out of here. Like Awa, if I was not careful. Okay? Just like Awa, if I was not careful. And see, this is why the Awa people are so, they've got an arrogant ignorance, the Awa. And that's why, because for a long time they've thrown away everything for the Crown narrative, and they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have. Come back to earth, Awa. Come back to earth. Come back to earth. Same with these other groups, Tūhoe, Uri Whānauri. Yeah, come back to earth too. All of your groups that have been causing the trouble in this space, which has caused all this situation we have in our space today. By the 12th of May, 6 lives have been taken. 29 were jailed. 6 of those 29 that were jailed were castrated in Waikeria prison. That's where they are. All castrated and locked up. The lowest of the time sentencing of those people is about 5 years, and the highest 30 years. A huge majority of them obtaining between 10 and 15 years. All of those people. Now, 2 of them, I was just about getting to that. 2 of them, both mob. And this is not a gang problem, by the way. This whole situation was not precipitated by the gangs. It's precipitated by the Crown/Crown, precipitated also by Tūhoe, who's closely followed by Awa and Ngāpuhi, and by Kahunu and by Rangitane. Okay, that's where all this trouble is precipitated. It has been caused by those by the corrupt acts of those particular groups. Okay. They obviously have always thought that they could push us around. Well, I'd like to see them how they're feeling about that right now. Okay, because by the 12th of May, 5 of their people were shot. Some of the main instigators of all the trouble, and 1 died of her own. Apparently playing around with her boyfriend of the time, who something happened. They had just split up, so she wanted to play around with him with one of her occult karakia that she was practicing with. Assumably, we assume that she was practicing to actually put one of those karakia on myself and my uere will be my queen. Yeah. But so she practiced on her, well, seemingly ex-boyfriend at that time, who is now dead. He's been shot in the whole of the situation. So they're both dead now. And shot by some of our security people's security at that time. And sadly, one of those security people of that time has gone as well. And so in the throes, she had been taken over by the opposition, and so she ended up being shot as well by security. Sadly, she had to be. They so fiercely stood over this particular security person, this woman. They so seriously stood over her, and the Awa people, we were told, the Awa people had stood over her, and same with the Awa mob, we were told. So, and sadly, that woman is now dead, and she was one of our security. So that's only one of our. She came from Tutura, though, and also she was a Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi. Okay, and so yeah, sadly, but that wasn't on the 12th. That's just not so well. A couple of weeks ago. Okay, and but yeah, so this woman played around with this occult karakia. It actually rebounded and went back onto her, and she died. So she had stupidly killed herself. Two of those people, two of the mob, had been trampling us for 35 years. Our top whānau for 35 years. They had also devised a way, so they thought, a way of getting off all these. They knew by some point that we had taken full note of all of the takahi, of the mana, of our children, of our people, and of our top whānau in Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi, how much they had trampled them. Okay, and though they were mobbed, there were some of the few gang members that at some point, sometimes they ended up getting involved in some way. They got caught up on all the action. And so these two in particular, these two mobsters who wouldn't give up their false claim, Kahungunu's false claim to Wairarapatara, these two in particular, had been trampling us for 35 years because they couldn't stand our claim. They couldn't stand our strength. They were in fact very, very jealous of me. I've always been a very, very strong, a very, very capable, a very, very powerful part of the native indigenous, the super tribal in our regions. And so these two in particular were very, very jealous, very spiteful, and often they broke the law. Now they knew we were making account of all of that breaking of the law, and they knew at some point they were going to end up paying for that. So they thought they had devised a way of getting off all of that. So they made up all these stories against us. They threatened to kill us and all that sort of thing. And police threw it all out. I laughed. That was the first thing I did, is I laughed. You know why? Because when I heard that about these stories, these false accusations that they made, I thought, oh wow, are they sure about that? They really want to do that? Because none of that's true. So I'm just going to laugh in their face, you know, and all that sort of thing. Well, yeah, they failed in that because some of their threats got a bit too much for our security to handle, and boom, boom, they were gone. One of them in particular, who got shot in prison by a rival gang member, was actually shot because he made a threat against my life in particular. Yeah, he didn't realise as soon as he got off the phone, he didn't realise this rival gang was tracking him all the time. And as soon as he said that on the phone to have me killed, boom, boom, he got taken out in jail. Okay, now that particular man, you know, I called him a dummy on the 12th, and I still think he was a dummy, because he should have been right up there with being on to the kōrero of the time. Especially if you're in the gang. If you're in the gang, you want to get your kōrero straight. You know? You want to get your kōrero right. And he didn't have that. You know, and he was a sergeant. And fancy that, a sergeant at arms. I think he was destined to be a president or something like that at the time, and he made a threat against my life. This rival gang member heard it, and they apparently took offence to a lot of the threats that were being made against myself and my queen, and so they shot him. Now he was being misled by some of his own gang. And I thought, wow, that's ridiculous, that's ridiculous. He was being misled and actually made to oppose us and threaten us and do all sorts of things to us. In fact, he was one of the ones that abused and violently treated our kids. So I was always looking to jail, to jail him anyway. And he was one of the main instigators of the threats against our lives, the lives of my queen and I. And so he got shot. And then it wasn't too long that the gang members that were from another chapter, but from within the same gang, they got shot too. So, but we haven't sort of counted them. That's sort of a whole different issue. That's their own issue within their own gang. The mob issuing against each other. Hard case, this sort of thing. If they're going to be a gang, at least get the kōrero straight, get the kōrero right, and start doing things right. And if you come to the end of your tether, you can't. Obviously, they couldn't prove a lot of their claims. They have a lot of overclaims, kahungunu and rangitane. They have a lot of false claims, like their false claim they used to have on the whole of Wairarapa-Tararua. Pai te he tēnā kōrero, tēnā kleme, tēnā te taunahatanga Wairarapa, no mātau ke. Over 3,000 years old they claim, and that's ours. That's Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi. And same with Here Taunga Wairoa, the Hawke's Bay Wairoa region, no mātau, no Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi. Okay, and so, those are some of the things that have been happening at Tatauma, and that had been happening on the 12th of May. And that we decided to share with you today with all of our kōrero. I haven't even mentioned our mandating and settlements and capacity building around claims in the pursuit of settlements, our registrations and etc., and the hui that are being called for that, because I've already continually done that. Okay, so I've intentionally gone through other kōrero that's been priority through the 12th of May, and also that is priority and that we need to hold on to for today. Now, the thing about those hui is that they are the first time in the last 10 to 15 years that Tahumakakanuimatua o Tutura Hapu iwi is going to be able to work face to face in unity, physically, properly. We're going to be able to do that safely in our hui. A lot of our people we've had to protect, a lot of our people we've had to keep under private and confidential communications with us. Because a lot of these opposition were always making threats, were always looking to try and cause trouble for them, take them out, abuse them, had violent threats against them, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and we also have, of course, over that time, the whakatapu was laid. In fact, in 2021, in August 2021, the whakatapu was laid in Wairarapa-Tararua, and we also have the whakatapu laid right across Hawke's Bay Wairoa, the same as right across Wairarapa-Tararua, and also right across our lands in the north, the Northern Territories, the Northern Division. E tatama, But those hui are very, very important. Mandating hui are always very, very important, but luckily most of our mandating is going to be done by our administration online and through other different methods of being able to pull together our mandate of 345,000 plus people e tatama in the motu. Okay, and I've already mentioned that. Other things that we went through on the 12th of May relate to the Take-Korero-O-Te-Wa and the Itetonu, Te o Noeia, and the Tahumakakanuimatua Itetonu, and the Tahumakakanuimatua Uruero. Okay, those are our Bible translations. We're translating the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, and we're also translating the NKJV. And those are massively on the way. 3 of our other projects are also getting underway. I just thought I'd mention that wasn't mentioned on the 12th of May, but I'll mention that now. 3 of our other projects, the Hapu iwi projects, and we've started on those as well. And those ones should be out after the biblical ones are completed, the biblical translations. The first translation of the NKJV shall be in Reo Matua, or our universal form of Reo. And the second translations of both those Bibles, the second translation of both those Bibles shall be in Reo Hapu iwi, or the iwi orientated Reo, which is interrelational, very much geared towards developing relationships and maintaining relationships. Awesome Reo, awesome Reo for. And the Reo that we pinpointed, we targeted, we realized was actually the Reo that the Bible should have been translated in originally. Why? Because it provides everybody a relational and interrelational Reo or form of language to develop a relationship with the Lord. Okay? And that's what the Bible really is. It's the Lord developing a relationship with you, and you developing a relationship with the Lord. Basically, in its basic form, that's what the Bible does. And we are translating those because we haven't found a proper Hapu iwi translation yet. We have not found. We don't believe the current translation is anywhere near standard. Even the edited versions are nowhere near a standard of Hapu iwi, or a standard that's acceptable in Te Reo today. Okay, so we started to translate our one in the Take-Korero-O-Te-Wa, our very first translation, which is actually not taking place until next year, from June next year, shall be a Reo Matua one. The Te Tonu Te O Noeia, our Reo Hapu iwi one. The Tahumakakanuimatua will be the Reo Matua one of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, and the TeTaiHauauruAukatiTai, the Reo Hapu iwi version. Of course, we need all this troublemaking from these junior groups and these LNGs of the Crown, /Crown, and the Crown, to settle down all this trouble, to stop the false claims, to stop trying to oppose our momentum and stop our momentum and stop us from going forward, because you're not going to be able to do that. Okay? Luckily, our settlements are safe. We've already settled Wairarapa and we've already settled Hawke's Bay Wainua. So just waiting now for the Crown to bring those in and for us to get to ensure that we get to enjoy, though it be only 1% of exactly what we are worth, we're going to enjoy that anyway. 1% or 3%, something like that. Now, finally, what I have down here to kōrero on, which was a part that I left out of the original kōrero on the 12th of May, and that was on ko huiarau. Ko huiarau is the governance system, the original governance system of the country. Westminster, the racial system of the country, the current system of the country, which is racial. That's not the original governance system of the country. The original governance system was established by our ancestors, by our tūpuna in 1815, and it was called ko huiarau. And the Hapu iwi that is appointed to reconvene that particular governance system in the Mutu for all our 7 Hapu iwi in the Mutu, and for all our Pākehā people that agree to operate in unity within the ko huiarau Parliament again, and within their governance entities, and us within ours, all 7 of our Hapu iwi operating within ours, within the ko huiarau Parliament. That is coming up very, very soon. I just wanted to share that part, to share that particular kōrero with you very soon. Not very far away. That will be, we can confirm that, of course, a bit later down the track. But I wanted to share that with you today, and make sure that you understood that amongst all the chaos being caused by this David Seymour and his coalition government, which I hope to cause a snap election across, with all our 439,000 plus submissions, e tatauma, that's what that should cause. If we just all get in there, even if 1 million of us went, shoo, submit, they're out of here, this government. A snap election should happen, and we should all be fine to carry on having a nice happy day after that. Without Seymour, without his imaginary dreaming, his dreams that he has, and the things that he imagines to have, like authoritarian dictatorship power and stuff like that. Like the Crown thinks they've got, Crown/Crown. They think they've got authoritarian dictatorship power, but they don't realise they don't have that if we don't give it. See, and we don't. And they're not going to get that from Tahumakakanuimatua or Tutura Hapu iwi. You know why? Because in our lands they've got no rights. They've got no legal right. There's nothing binding to the Crown/Crown in our land. Okay? And that's legal beagle. That's legal beagle. Trust me on that. And ko huiarau, when we reconvene ko huiarau, we get started. We're not, we know we've had the offer of utilising the Westminster System Parliament for that. We refuse. We want to utilise the original location of ko huiarau, which was in the north, and operate ko huiarau from there. The first choice for us is in our lands. Our lands, the lands of Tahumakakanuimatua or Tutura Hapu iwi, which would give us the right to, as the conveners, the rightful conveners, from amongst the seniors, we were chosen amongst the seniors to take over ko huiarau. And so we will run that. Pākehā will come in as well with their governance body. We will be there with our governance body, and all the other 6 hapu iwi will have their governance bodies there as well. And we will share in the Kohuiarau Parliament. All of the immigrant parties, they actually can have their governance bodies as well and come into the Kohuiarau Parliament and be a part of the Parliament. It will run absolutely variantly to the Westminster system. In fact, there will be no racism e Tatauma. I can guarantee, just listening to that way that everyone will be set up in the Parliament shows you there's no room for discrimination, there's no room for racism, and there's no room for any, there's no likelihood either of any lack of equality, all those things that you get in the Westminster Parliament, all those things that you won't get bills from a dreamy candidate, a dreamy MP who thinks he's the dictator of the current era. Kai te he tēnā kōrero or David Seymour. He's not the dictator of our time. Okay, and so yeah, there's none of that. We won't consider a bill like the RSP or Treaty Principles Bill. And in fact, Kohuiarau is set to run on the original intentions of the tiriti. Okay? And that's the kōrero I wanted to leave you with today. I know we've got a bit of time left, and we could go on for a fair bit more. But I wanted to leave it there for you for today. Because I've got to rush off, but yeah, lots of initial acts we are looking to commit to within Kohuiarau coming up first off. And why are we doing that with Kohuiarau? And why are we saying all these other groups should bring in their governance entities? Because that's what the original intentions say we can do. Ara? And that's what Kohuiarau should have been given in 1840, but they changed everything. Instead, they basically trampled all over Kohuiarau in 1840. See? And Kohuiarau had been in existence since 1815 in the country, and it was running very, very successfully. And I'm not surprised. The most successful governance system in the country, also set up in alliance with King George IV and King George, was it King George IV? Yeah, I think, King George VI. Kohuiarau was set up with him, and he helped to update at that time the Kohuiarau system, which was a system brought from Raiatea Tahiti, also ours. Kohuiarau originally, also ours originally, and we're the original people of the country, the people of Raiatea Tahiti, that is Moai Hapu Iwi, Te Awa Hapu Iwi, and Tahumakakanuimatua Tutura Hapu Iwi. Then eventually we get some of the Māmoe and then Moriori, who are the 5th line of Hapu Iwi of the country. Originals around about, I think Moriori are around about 1,000 years ago or more. Yeah. So, but the originals are actually Moai and Te Awa and us. Yeah. Okay, tatauma. Okay. And yeah, so that's what we're looking to do and run Kohuiarau on the original intentions of the tiriti as well, and move forward in that fashion. And why are we set up that way? Because the tiriti allows for that. So no doubt Kohuiarau was already running on something similar or exactly like that. We think it was exactly like that. That's why when we reconvene Kohuiarau, it'll run exactly like that. The Parliament. No room for discrimination at all. Why? Because we're all the boss of our own governance entities within the parliament. Okay? That's our kōrero for today. E tatama. Tō matai atua matua I te matapuo. Taputia tonu hia o tō ngahu. Tō hou ano kia taia ki ai. Ia ko tāu anu kia mea tuai. Ia te whenua tau. Ia tō te matapuo. Mea ia mātau ki te ao nei. Ai o te ia hareia. A ko murua ke ia mātau. O mātau I o. Me mātau hoki ia mātau. Mātau e I o ahia. A ka hure hoki mātau kia kau o. Kia whakawai. E rangi whakaura ia mātau. Ia te kinomea. Ano hona ia hoki te ho ana. Me te mana tapu. Me ko te tai ea. Ke tonu atu. Mene ka piti hono ka tātai hono ko rātau rā tērā te mate ki a rātau. Ka piti hono ka tātai hono ko tātau māturi anu tēnei tātau mātau kuau ko te kāno hiora ki a tātau mātau kuau kai te mihi atu. Kai te mihi atu. Tēnā rā tātau. Tēnā rā tātau. Mauri ora. Kahuri.